And of course, as you know, this can apply across any religious group or denomination. It's not something that is necessarily based on whether you have quote unquote healthy or unhealthy theology. Like, I see a lot of people who have the best theological view of God, very healthy, very loving, very compassionate, not a toxic view of God. And they've got all kinds of religious compulsions and obsessions, right? So this is something that I've seen across the board with different religious denominational backgrounds, but it is essentially where a person has obsessive compulsive disorder and it is attaching to their religious experience.
That's spot on to how I would describe it too. I do see that sometimes people fall into that category, even if they don't feel or self-identify as being religious or having a particular religion. They still have somehow absorbed the idea of good and evil, right and wrong. They have this sense of morality, and even if they haven't explicitly said they are a certain religion and follow a certain religiosity, they can get caught up in doing things perfectly or right or good, or having some magical thinking around things in hopes that they end up in the good place or they can reunite with maybe family members that are now in heaven or whatnot. For sure. But one thing about scrupulosity that kind of has confused me over the years, and I'm wondering if you've experienced this, I have had people, at least two, from different countries that came over here maybe in their teens to the States, are not Christians, do not follow Christianity, but had blasphemous thoughts around Jesus in particular that really crippled them, even though they were not identified as Christians. I always found that to be interesting. Have you ever experienced that before?
Yeah, you're actually making me think of a client that I once had from the Czech Republic. And Czech Republic is one of the world's most atheist nations. Like, the rate of people that prescribe to any specific religion is very low in that country. And I had a young man reach out to me that he was having a lot of obsessions about Jesus. And, with OCD, it's the what if always. It's the what if about everything. And for him, it was, well, I'm atheist, but what if God does exist? I can't remember which one. For the Secret Service of that country, he had come over to the US, was now a high-ranking banker at a prestigious bank. Like, he was we're not talking about like crazy people. These are life intelligent people, right? And this guy was paralyzed with this obsession to the point that he could not turn on his television in case the news anchor had like a shirt with a low-cut blouse. He could not go to the supermarket because, he might see a woman there. Even in his work, he was really suffering that if there were female clients that would come to him, he would shake their hand without looking at them. And he was taking this, I think you would say, the thought action fusion type of interpretation of Jesus' teachings and thinking, if I see any woman that even tickles my brain with the idea of body parts, if I even notice anything, then it equals lust and I'm living in sin. And I have to confess to my wife, I have to confess to God. I think as Christians with OCD, we can often confuse process with goal. And we think, well, because the goal is there, the daily process leading up to the goal has to be the same. And so because God has told me to think about good and lovely and worthwhile things, then at any point in the process in which I'm changing, if I think about something bad, then I'm completely failing him. But we know when we compare with other passages, like in Romans chapter 12, verses 1 and 2, it talks about we are renewing our minds. And there's this idea that, like, my mind is not what it's supposed to be. Like, I'm a work in progress. So what is it? Was it Philippians chapter 1 talks about how he who began a good work in me is going to be faithful to complete it.